Hi, are you thinking of renting a house or a condo with the option to buy? Do you want to know what the risks and benefits are? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about just that. I'm going to tell you what the risks and the benefits are of renting a home with an option to buy. Hi, my name is Teresa with the M&M Team Realty, and welcome to Sundays with M&Ms. So let's just start with the basics. Renting a home is similar to a car lease. The seller has given the tenant the right to buy the house at some point in the future. Usually that time is 2 years. It could be 3 years, but most of the time it's 2 years for a price that's agreed upon today. So generally the tenant is going to pay a fee, and that fee is called an option. That's going to keep the home open and keep the option available for the tenant to purchase the house in the future. In addition, it's common for the tenant to pay about 20% more, typically the rent for the house. So for example, if a home was to go for rent for $1,000, and trust me, I know right now today, you cannot find a house for rent for $1,000 a month. But I like to keep things simple, so let's do easy math. So if a home were to rent for $1,000 a month, a rent-to-own tenant would pay 20% more, which is an additional $200. So they're going to pay $1,200. So a portion of that rent is going to be credited to the tenant for an eventual down payment. Now, this could be good. It could be a win-win for the seller and the tenant. Many sellers offer this option if they're having trouble trying to sell the house, they can't afford to pay the mortgage. And often you'll find that the sellers offer a rent-to-own as an option are individuals who've already moved into their new home and they're trying to avoid paying 2 mortgages for the long term. Sounds good, right? So tenants who often rent to own are individuals who would have trouble buying a house through a traditional manner. For example, they may not have the best credit. Their credit could be poor. They've got low income, or they don't have the down payment. Renting to own gives them an opportunity for home ownership while living in the house that they're eventually going to purchase. And also, it's giving them a chance to discover the flaws in the house before committing to purchase it. Well, let me tell you, here's the fine print. Unfortunately, a rent to own is not always a good idea. If the tenant decides not to purchase the house at the end of the rental term, none of the extra money that he or she has paid to the seller comes back to that tenant. So he or she would have paid above market value for a rental and have no extra cash to show for it. Furthermore, unlikely in traditional scenarios, the tenant is often responsible for the repairs, for the maintenance, during the lease term. And any of that money or the sweat equity that you put into it, the rent-to-own property, it will not be reimbursed. Finally, some rent-to-own agreements are worked so that you are contractually obligated to purchase the home at the end of the lease. It's very important that you know exactly what you're signing if you enter into one of these agreements so that you are not stuck with a contract that you cannot fulfill. For example, let's say that it turns out in 2 years, you have a 2-year contract of a rent to own. What happens if the property is upside down at the end of those 2 years, meaning the market has shifted from being a seller's market right now to a buyer's market where there are many homes that are sitting on the market, and the price of that home that you agreed to 2 years prior has dropped. You are still obligated to purchase that home at that agreed price. Now, what happens if you're unable to buy the house? at the end of the lease. For whatever reason, you're unable to buy it before, you still don't have the credit rating, you don't have the income, and you don't have a large enough down payment. At this point, the seller walks away with a great deal of your money toward his mortgage, and you are left with absolutely nothing. If you're interested in a rent-to-own agreement, it would make sense to talk to a bank about financing before you sign any paperwork with the seller. Ultimately, however, the agreement are not the healthiest financial path to go through. Are you a first-time buyer and you're looking to buy your first home? It can seem daunting. It can seem like it's a lot of trouble. After all, you're most likely putting down almost all of your savings as down payment. You're trying to obtain a very large size loan. And I know that if you are in serious debt, it can be a problem. So you know what? Don't worry. This is my recommendations to you. I recommend that you save your own money. You do not need anyone to hold your money. You can hold your money yourself. Start saving, just as we talked about earlier in the week. Start saving a little bit at a time, putting your money aside. Don't go out to Starbucks so much. Don't eat out so much, especially with COVID. You probably ordered DoorDash and all those other things. Stop it. Just stop it. Save your own money. The first thing I recommend that you do is talk to a lender. Find out where you are in the credit arena. What can you qualify on your own right now today? If you can't qualify for anything, the lender is going to tell you, you need to do this, you need to pay off this, your credit score is A or B. In order to get it to C, you need to do this. And here's another point about renting with option to buy. What happens if the house that you are renting and you are faithfully paying your extra 20% and you're paying your rent? What happens if the seller has a very horrible situation where they lose their job, especially now during the time of COVID? It is very possible that they may be laid off. If they are laid off, if they're unable to pay the mortgage, and lo and behold, the property is foreclosed upon, guess what? The money that you paid into, the security that you thought you had, you don't have that security anymore. The bank takes over the home. You are kind of left out in the cold because your agreement was with the seller. It was not with the mortgage company. And guess what? Your situation hasn't improved, so you're still not in the best situation to get a mortgage, have a down payment, or have good credit. You end up losing your money. So I say to all of those people that are asking me about renting with option to buy, don't do it. Do find a rental that you can afford and stay there. Save your money. Don't do it. Renting with option to buy has many, many downsides and many flaws that can get you into a lot of trouble. So this is my short tip for today with Sundays with M&Ms. And what I want you to do, if you have questions, if there's anything that you want to know, I want you to feel free to reach out to me. You may reach out to me in one of two ways. The easiest way is that you comment in the comment section below, whether you're watching me right now in this live video or you're watching later on the recap. You can reach me at my website, which is www.themmteamrealty.com or www.themmteamrealty.net. You may also call me. My number is 310-713-8459. So remember, I have given you helpful tips this evening about renting with option to buy. My recommendation is that you don't travel down that road. It may not work out in your best interest. I hope you've enjoyed Sundays with M&Ms. If you would like to see more, whether you're looking at me on Twitter, whether you're watching me on Facebook, whether you are watching me on YouTube, If you're watching me on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, tap on the little bell so that you can be notified every time we go live. I really hope you enjoyed these tips. So I want you to have a great evening, and I will see you next Sunday.